Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today, we are uncovering the incredible story of a coin most people overlook every single day. The 1979 D Washington Quarter. A coin minted in huge numbers at the Denver Mint. A coin that millions of Americans have carried in pockets, purses, and glove boxes without ever imagining that some rare versions of this coin can be worth serious money. And yes, there is even a legendary minting mistake tied to the 1979 D quarter that some collectors believe could reach an unbelievable $1.8 million if it ever appeared at a major auction. Let's begin with the history. The Washington Quarter was introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, it quickly became the standard quarter used by Americans for decades. By the time we reached 1979, the coin had been in circulation for almost half a century. The United States Mint had long since removed silver from circulating quarters, replacing it with a copper core coated in nickel. So the 1979 D quarter is made of this copper-nickel-clad composition. At the Denver Mint, millions upon millions of these coins were struck to keep up with everyday demand. For most people, the 1979 D quarter is nothing special. But for collectors, this year carries hidden opportunities. Let's talk about normal value first. A typical 1979 D quarter in circulated condition is usually worth face value. But when you find an uncirculated example, things change. High-grade mint state coins graded MS-66 or MS-67 can sell for hundreds of dollars. Ultra-gem examples, especially MS-68, are extremely rare and can reach thousands. These high-grade coins exist because most 1979 D quarters were used immediately, meaning pristine survivors are scarce. But then we move into the exciting world of mint errors, and this is where the 1979 D quarter becomes truly interesting. Collectors have discovered a variety of mint errors from this year. Some quarters show strong die cracks, others display off-center strikes, clipped planchets, broad strikes, missing clad layers, and even double strikes. Depending on the severity and eye appeal of these mistakes, error coins can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to several thousand. However, the real legend tied to the 1979 D quarter is the possibility of an extremely rare and dramatic mint error unlike anything normally seen. Error specialists have discussed the existence of a one-of-a-kind 1979 D quarter struck on the wrong planchet and struck twice with a severe die rotation. A coin like this would be a minting disaster of epic proportions. Not just an error, but a masterpiece of accidental production. Something so visually shocking, so rare, and so historically significant that major collectors and museums would compete fiercely for it. This is where the $1.8 million estimate comes from. It is not for any typical 1979 D quarter, but for the possibility of a truly extraordinary piece that has never appeared publicly. If a coin of that magnitude were ever authenticated and auctioned, the bidding war could reach unbelievable heights. Now let's talk about what you should be looking for in your own 1979 D quarters. Start with weight. A normal 1979 D quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs noticeably more or less, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. Next, examine the edge. A standard clad quarter shows a copper stripe along the rim. If the stripe is missing or looks unusual, you may have a rare error. Look closely at Washington's portrait, the lettering, and the date. Doubling, misalignments, missing details, and off-center strikes are all signs of valuable errors. Small details matter. Some of the most valuable coin discoveries in history were made by people who simply noticed that something didn't look quite right. And one important reminder: never clean your coins. Cleaning destroys the natural mint luster and can instantly ruin the value. Handle coins by the edges, store them safely, and if you think you found something special, have it authenticated by a professional grading service. The 1979 D Washington Quarter is a perfect example of why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. An ordinary coin can hold extraordinary secrets. A coin you pick up without thinking could be worth hundreds, thousands, or in the rarest case, potentially even more than $1 million. So keep looking through your change. Keep checking those old jars, rolls, and boxes of coins. Every search brings you one step closer to finding something remarkable. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and hidden value of the 1979 D. Washington quarter, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story about rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable discoveries. If you'd like, I can also write you a shorter version, a more dramatic storytelling version, or a YouTube short script for this same coin. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today we are uncovering one of the most fascinating stories in modern American coin collecting, a story that begins with a simple, ordinary coin you have probably seen thousands of times. The 1965 Washington quarter, a coin minted by the hundreds of millions, a coin that millions of people carry every single day. And yet, among these everyday coins lies the possibility of a rare treasure, a minting mistake so extraordinary that collectors have estimated its potential value at an unbelievable $1.9 million. Before we dive into that legendary number, let's take a journey back to the beginning. The year is 1965. The United States Mint is in the middle of one of the biggest transitions in American coinage history. For decades, quarters had been struck in 90% silver. But during the early 1960s, the country faced a massive coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins, the price of silver was rising, and the mint had no choice but to change the formula. So in 1965, the government removed silver from the quarter and replaced it with a copper core coated in nickel. It was a dramatic shift, and it marked the end of an era for silver coins. Because of this transition, the mint focused heavily on speed and production. Millions of new copper-nickel-clad quarters were struck in 1965 with no mint marks, since the mint temporarily removed them to discourage hoarding. These new coins were produced non-stop, day and night, under enormous pressure. And whenever that happens, mistakes can slip through. For the average collector, a normal 1965 quarter in worn condition is worth only face value. But what makes this year special is the possibility of rare and valuable errors. Some 1965 quarters show off-center strikes, broad strikes, double strikes, and various die breaks. These errors can range from a few dollars all the way up to thousands of dollars, depending on severity and condition. But then there is the legendary mystery. The 1965 quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet. During the transition, the mint still had leftover silver planchets intended for 1964 quarters. A tiny number of these silver blanks were accidentally fed into the presses that were already set up for 1965 clad coins. The result is one of the rarest and most desirable modern mint errors in American history. These silver 1965 quarters are extremely scarce, and authenticated examples have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. And this is where the numismatic world begins to buzz. Over the years, collectors and error specialists have discussed the possibility of an ultimate rarity, a perfect condition 1965 silver transitional error combined with a dramatic double strike or wrong planchet anomaly. A coin so unique that, if it ever surfaced, it could send shockwaves through the collecting world. Experts have estimated that a one-of-a-kind, museum-level transitional error of this magnitude could reach or even exceed $1.9 million in the right auction setting. This does not mean every 1965 quarter is worth a fortune, but it does mean that something truly extraordinary could still be out there. The story of the $1.9 million quarter keeps collectors searching, hunting through old change jars, sorting through inherited coin collections, and checking every quarter that looks even slightly unusual. What should you be looking for? First, check the weight. A normal clad quarter from 1965 weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver transitional error weighs about 6.25 grams. Second, pay attention to the color of the metal. A silver quarter will not show the copper stripe along the edge like a clad coin does. Third, examine the strike and the details. Any major doubling, misalignment, or unusual die marks can increase value dramatically. If you believe you have a silver transitional error or a major mint mistake, handle it carefully. Do not clean the coin. Put it in a protective sleeve and take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service for authentication. A simple test and certification could be the difference between 25 cents and thousands of dollars. And if lightning truly strikes and you uncover something unheard of, you could be holding a life-changing numismatic treasure. The 1965 Washington quarter is a symbol of change in American history, a turning point between silver and modern coinage. It is a reminder that even the most ordinary object can hide an extraordinary secret. And somewhere out there, maybe in a forgotten drawer, a dusty jar, or a box of old coins, the next million-dollar discovery might be waiting for someone who simply takes the time to look. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and hidden value of the 1965 Washington quarter, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss another story about rare coins and hidden treasures. And remember, always check your pocket change. You never know what kind of history you might be carrying. If you'd like, I can also create a shorter version, a more dramatic or cinematic narration, a script specifically crafted for YouTube Shorts or TikTok. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are uncovering the secrets behind a coin most people overlook completely. The 1996 Washington quarter. A coin that millions of Americans have spent without ever imagining it could be anything more than ordinary. But like many coins in modern U.S. history, the familiar 1996 quarter hides a few surprises, rare errors, hidden varieties, and in one extraordinary case discussed among serious collectors, a unique minting mistake so dramatic that it could bring as much as $1.3 million if it ever reaches a major auction. Let's start at the beginning. The 1996 quarter comes from a fascinating time in the history of American coinage. The Washington quarter design had been in circulation since 1932. Created by sculptor John Flanagan, it was originally meant as a one-year commemorative. Yet Americans embraced the design so completely that it became the standard quarter for more than 6 decades. By 1996, this design was just 3 years away from being replaced by the 50-state quarters program, which began in 1999 and changed U.S. coin collecting forever. The 1996 quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint using the modern copper-nickel clad composition. Millions were minted for everyday use, and most of them entered heavy circulation immediately. That is why most 1996 quarters you see today are scratched, worn, or tarnished. Now let's talk about the value of a normal 1996 quarter. In circulated condition, most are worth face value. But high-grade examples tell a very different story. Uncirculated coins in MS-66 or MS-67 can sell for hundreds of dollars. Ultra-gem MS-68 pieces are extremely valuable because only a very small number exist, and collectors chase them fiercely. These can sell for thousands of dollars at auction, but these are just the normal coins. The excitement truly begins when we look at the rare mint errors and unusual strike varieties. The 1996 Washington quarter is known among collectors for several interesting errors: off-center strikes, double strikes, misaligned dies, missing clad layers, clipped planchets, and more. Depending on the severity of the error, these coins can be worth anywhere from tens of dollars to several thousand. Then comes the legend that captivates collectors, the $1.3 million error. Error specialists have long talked about the possibility of a unique 1996 quarter struck under extreme and unusual conditions. This includes the combination of a wrong planchet, severe die rotation, and a dramatic double strike happening all in one minting event. A coin like this would not just be rare. It would be a once-in-a-generation discovery. The type of error so visually shocking and so impossibly rare that major collectors and even museums would compete fiercely for it. That is where the estimate of $1.3 million comes from. Not from any average quarter, but from the potential of a truly extraordinary minting accident. This raises the big question: what should you be checking for when you look at your own 1996 quarters? Start with the weight. A normal clad quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs noticeably more or less, it could be a wrong planchet error. Examine the edge. A standard quarter shows a copper stripe. If the copper line is missing, faded, or uneven, you may have an unusual piece. Look for doubling on the letters and numbers, missing details in Washington's portrait, misaligned edges, or anything that seems out of the ordinary. The important thing is to take your time and look closely. Some of the most valuable coin discoveries were made by people who simply paid attention to small details. A difference in weight, a missing edge stripe, a slightly off-center strike. Simple clues that can lead to incredible finds. And a very important reminder: never clean a coin. Cleaning destroys mint luster and can turn a valuable coin into a worthless one instantly. Handle your coins only by the edges and store them carefully. If you truly believe you have found something special, submit it to a professional grading service for authentication. The story of the 1996 P. Washington quarter reminds us that the most ordinary objects can sometimes hide extraordinary secrets. A coin that looks like nothing more than pocket change can carry history, rarity, and sometimes even the potential to change a life. That is the thrill of coin collecting. The mystery, the hunt, the possibility that greatness is hiding in plain sight. So the next time you check your change, take a closer look at those quarters. You never know when you might uncover a rare variety, a valuable error, or maybe even the next $1,000,000 treasure. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history, rarity, and hidden value of the 1996 P. Washington quarter, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story about rare coins and incredible discoveries. If you want, I can also create a shorter version, a more dramatic storytelling version, or a YouTube short script for the same coin. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are digging into a coin that millions of Americans have handled without ever realizing its hidden potential. The 1982 P. Washington quarter. A coin from a year many of us remember. A coin that looks ordinary at first glance, yet hides one of the most intriguing stories in modern numismatics. And yes, this year and mint mark are tied to a legendary major minting mistake that collectors believe could be worth as much as $1.5 million if it ever surfaced in perfect condition. Let's begin with the history. The year 1982 was a time of major change at the United States Mint. Because of rising production costs, the mint suspended the making of uncirculated mint sets that year. As a result, far fewer high-grade examples of 1982 coins survived. Most of the quarters struck in Philadelphia were used immediately in circulation. That means nearly all 1982 P quarters you find today are worn, scratched, or heavily used. Uncirculated examples are far scarcer than in other years, and superb gem specimens are extremely hard to find. The Washington quarter itself traces back to its introduction in 1932, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. It became an everyday piece of American life, passing through the hands of millions for decades. By the time we reached 1982, the quarter had already undergone the huge change of losing its silver content in 1965. So the 1982 P quarter is a copper-nickel-clad coin, just like the ones we spend today. But scarcity in high grades is only the beginning of the story. Let's talk value. A typical circulated 1982 P quarter is worth face value. But things change dramatically when you examine uncirculated examples. High-grade coins in MS-65 or MS-66 can sell for tens or hundreds of dollars. MS-67 coins can bring thousands because they are so rare, and MS-68 examples are virtually impossible to find. Only a few exist, and they are treated like treasures in the modern coin market. Now we move into the part that collectors find truly exciting: the hidden errors and rare mistakes. The 1982 P quarter is known for several varieties, including weak strikes, die cracks, off-center strikes, and clash dies. These errors can raise the value significantly depending on severity and condition. But then there is the legendary case of the $1.5 million error. According to long-standing reports and discussions in the error coin community, there is believed to be an extremely rare 1982 P quarter struck on the wrong planchet combined with a dramatic double strike or misalignment. A minting accident so intense and unusual that it would be considered a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. A coin like this, if perfectly preserved, verified, and publicly listed at a major auction, could easily spark a bidding war among collectors, museums, and investors. And that is where the $1.5 million estimate comes from. Not for the ordinary coin, but for a truly unique and museum-level mint error. So what should you be looking for? Start by carefully examining the weight. A normal 1982 P-clad quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. If it weighs noticeably more or less, you may be holding a wrong planchet or transitional error piece. Next, look at the edge. A standard clad quarter shows a copper stripe. A wrong metal error might not. Look also for doubling, missing details, off-center strikes, and anything that looks clearly abnormal. Since no mint sets were issued in 1982, uncirculated coins are often found only in old rolls, forgotten collections, or jars of change that someone never used. That makes the search even more exciting. Every box you open, every drawer you check, every old coin jar you pour out could be hiding a gem that has been sitting untouched for 40 years. Remember, if you find something unusual, do not clean the coin. Cleaning can remove thousands of dollars in value instantly. Handle it gently, store it safely, and consider sending it to a professional grading service for authentication and certification. The 1982 P. Washington quarter is a perfect example of why coin collecting remains one of the most exciting hobbies in the world. It proves that an ordinary-looking coin, one that people spend every day, can hold extraordinary history, hidden rarity, and even the possibility of life-changing value. So keep searching your change. Keep opening those old jars, rolls, and collections. You never know when you might uncover your own piece of numismatic history. Maybe even the next million-dollar discovery. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the history, value, and rare errors of the 1982 P. Washington quarter, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another rare coin adventure. And always remember, treasure is everywhere. You just have to look. If you want, I can also write a shorter version, a more dramatic version, or a YouTube short script for this same coin. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are exploring one of the most surprising stories in modern American coin collecting, the 1991 D. Washington quarter. A coin so ordinary that millions of people have spent it without a second thought. But hidden among these everyday Denver minted quarters are rare minting mistakes and unique varieties. And in one exceptional case discussed among collectors, a perfect condition major error has been estimated to reach as high as $1.3 million if it ever appeared at a top-tier auction. This is not your average quarter. This is a story of history, hidden value, and the kind of numismatic mystery that keeps collectors searching through their pocket change every single day. Let's start at the beginning. The Washington quarter design dates back to 1932, created by sculptor John Flanagan to honor George Washington's 200th birthday. By 1991, the design had been around for nearly 60 years, becoming one of the most recognizable American coins ever minted. The Denver Mint struck millions of 1991 D quarters using the standard copper-nickel-clad composition that had replaced silver in 1965. On the surface, nothing seems unusual, but as experienced collectors know, even the most common coins can hide extraordinary secrets. First, let's talk about regular value. A typical 1991 D quarter in circulated condition is usually worth its face value. But when you move into uncirculated grades, the value can increase. High-grade examples certified as MS-66 or MS-67 can bring anywhere from tens to hundreds of dollars. Extremely high mint state grades like MS-68 can sometimes reach into the low thousands because only a handful are known in such pristine condition. However, the real excitement begins when we talk about errors. The 1991 D quarter is known for several kinds of minting mistakes. Some show strong die cracks, others display off-center strikes, double strikes, or clipped planchets. These errors can sell for far more than face value, with prices ranging from a few dollars to several hundred depending on the severity and rarity of the mistake. But then comes the legend, the possibility of a one-of-a-kind major error from the Denver Mint. Over the years, error specialists and collectors have discussed the existence of a unique 1991 D quarter struck on the wrong metal planchet combined with a dramatic double strike, rotation damage, or other extreme minting anomaly. A coin like this, perfectly preserved and verified, would be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. It would be the type of mint error so rare and spectacular that major collectors and institutions could battle furiously at auction, with only one known to exist in private circles and never offered on the open market. This mystery coin has been estimated to be worth as much as $1.3 million. Not because every 1991 D quarter holds that value, but because a truly unique minting disaster, especially on a widely collected modern coin, becomes a trophy piece. A centerpiece for a world-class numismatic collection. So what should you look for when searching your own change? Start with the basics. Check for an unusual weight. A normal 1991 D quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, it could have been struck on the wrong planchet. Inspect the edge. A normal clad quarter shows a copper stripe, but a wrong metal error might not. Examine the design closely. Look for doubling on the lettering, misaligned strikes, rotated dies, and any unusual missing details. Never clean your coin. Cleaning can instantly destroy thousands of dollars in potential value. Handle rare-looking coins by the edges, store them carefully, and get them checked by a professional grading service if you believe you have something special. The beauty of the 1991 D Washington quarter lies in its simplicity. It is an ordinary coin that millions of people overlook every day. But hidden inside those millions are coins with stories. Coins that slipped through the mint's machinery in ways no one expected. Coins that collectors dream of finding. And yes, even a coin that could be worth as much as $1.3 million. So keep searching your change. Keep checking your old jars, your inherited coin boxes, and the pockets of jackets you haven't worn in years. You never know when you might uncover a forgotten treasure waiting for someone with just enough curiosity to take a closer look. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into the history and hidden value of the 1991 D Washington quarter, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another story about rare coins and unbelievable discoveries. And remember, every ordinary coin has the potential to hold extraordinary value. You just have to look. If you'd like, I can also create a more dramatic version, a shorter script or a YouTube short script for this same topic. Today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising stories in modern American coin collecting. The 1995 D Washington quarter dollar. A coin millions of people have handled in everyday change. A coin so common that most of us never give it a second thought. Yet hidden among these regular Denver minted quarters are rare varieties and dramatic mint errors that have sent collectors scrambling. And in one extraordinary case, a unique error example has been discussed among collectors as potentially reaching a value of over $1.4 million if it ever appeared at a major auction. Before we get into the jaw-dropping price story, let's begin with the origin of the coin itself. The Washington quarter in 1995 was part of the long-running series first introduced in 1932 to honor George Washington on the 200th anniversary of his birth. The design features the familiar portrait by John Flanagan, a design Americans grew up seeing for decades until the introduction of the state quarters program in 1999. In 1995, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins. On the surface, there is nothing unusual about a 1995 D quarter. It is a standard copper nickel-clad coin that entered circulation by the tens of millions. But as any seasoned collector will tell you, everyday coins can hide extraordinary surprises. Minting machinery sometimes misaligns, dies can crack, break, or clash, planchets can be wrong, and sometimes, although extremely rarely, the mint accidentally uses the wrong die entirely. These are the events that give birth to high-value numismatic treasures. Let's talk about the real-world value of a regular, well-preserved 1995 D quarter. In circulated condition, it usually holds only face value. Even in uncirculated grades, you are looking at only a few dollars. But when you move into the highest mint state grades, such as MS-67 or MS-68, now you enter the territory of serious collector interest. Coins graded MS-68 have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because they are the very finest examples known for that year and mint. Condition matters enormously in modern coins. Now comes the part of the story that captures the imagination of collectors and non-collectors alike. A small number of 1995 D quarters display dramatic and extremely rare mint errors. Some of these include off-center strikes, double die obverse varieties, die cracks large enough to transform parts of the design, and wrong planchet errors where the quarter was mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for another denomination. These unusual pieces can bring hundreds, thousands, and in some cases tens of thousands of dollars. But then there is the legendary case discussed in numismatic circles, the unique 1995 D Washington quarter struck on a completely incorrect planchet with a dramatic double strike and die rotation combination. This coin has never publicly surfaced at a major auction house, but private collectors and error specialists have long speculated that if it ever did appear, its value could reach or even exceed $1.4 million. That figure is not for any ordinary quarter. It is for a one-of-a-kind minting accident of incredible magnitude, the type of error that becomes a centerpiece of a world-class collection. Why would such a coin bring so much money? The answer lies in rarity, demand, and historical importance. A unique mint error becomes a trophy item when only one exists in the world and it comes from a widely collected modern series. Collectors with deep pockets are willing to battle fiercely for the chance to own it. Add in the fact that the Washington quarter is one of the most familiar American coins, and you have the perfect formula for a headline-making sale. So what does this mean for you? Should you start checking every 1995 D quarter you come across? Absolutely. Even though a $1.4 million example is hypothetically the rarest of the rare, you can still find valuable varieties. Look for off-center strikes, double dies, strong die cracks, wrong planchet weights, or anything that visually stands out. Many collectors have found surprising treasures in pocket change or old coin jars simply by looking closely. The key is knowledge. Know what the normal design should look like, study the known varieties, and when in doubt, weigh the coin and inspect the edges. If you believe you have something unusual, take clear photos and consult a reputable grading service or a trusted coin dealer who specializes in mint errors. The 1995 D Washington quarter is a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. A coin that most people spend without looking can turn out to be a miniature piece of American minting history. And in the rarest case of all, it could be worth life-changing money. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history, value, and hidden secrets of the 1995 D Washington quarter, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another coin collecting story. And remember, always check your change. You never know what treasure might be waiting right in your pocket. If you want, I can also write a shorter script, a more dramatic or cinematic version, a version optimized for TikTok or YouTube Shorts.